Hello and welcome back. This week's shower curtain pick is a movie called Frankenhooker. It was made in 1990, which I didn't know there were any 90s movies here on this curtain, but that's okay. I was able to watch this movie on Shudder. Again, I love Shudder. They've got so many different options. So this is where it is on our shower curtain. Right down here at the very bottom, Frankenhooker. This is the one. The opening scene sets the tone for this movie. It's a giant brain with an eye in the middle of it. Just kind of gives you that mad scientist feel, which is great. I love it. This movie is about the main character, Jeffrey, who is a bioelectro technician. He has no licenses because he's been kicked out of 3 medical schools already, and he is engaged to Elizabeth Shelley. During a birthday party for Elizabeth's dad, Elizabeth is showing how to work a lawnmower that Jeffrey had made. It's by remote, so she's turning it on, doing all this, and next thing you know, the lawnmower runs her over, sending her into pieces.
Just press this. You're on your way, Jeff. Don't stand in front of it.
So the only parts that Jeffrey was able to save was her head, an arm, a foot, and a toe. Jeffrey has a deep fridge that's filled with this liquid that's a estrogen-based blood serum, and in this liquid, this is where he keeps all of her parts to keep them fresh until he can find more parts to make her into a full human. So now he's having to decide where is he going to get these parts from, and he comes up with an idea: why not get them from prostitutes? So next we see Jeffrey driving downtown New York, looking for the perfect woman, and he talks to a prostitute and decides, okay, he needs more than one woman to get the perfect parts for his new Elizabeth. So this prostitute takes him to meet her pimp, Zorro. Meets with him, talks with him, and they decide for the next night they're going to have a party where there's about 6 or 7 other women that are going to be present. While he's talking to Zorro, he notices several of the women that are in there are using some kind of crack substance, and he decides, oh, this would be the perfect way to kill them. So he goes back to his lab and he makes what he calls super crack. And he tests it out on a gerbil, not a real gerbil, guys. Test it out and it gets blown into several pieces, and he thinks perfect because this will also save time on dismemberment. So in a very interesting scene, very entertaining scene, he has his party with these women, and he at the time decided against doing it. He was feeling really bad about taking so many human lives to bring back one. So he wasn't going to do it, and when he went to pay these prostitutes, they found this giant bag of his super crack and just went crazy. They were holding him down so that they can get to it and use it, and a lot of things happen. It's just great the way they did it. So he ended up getting all of his parts, came back home where he had the parts left of Elizabeth, put them together, brought her back, and there she was. But when she came back with the mind of the multiple prostitutes that were used to complete her body.
Want a date? Going out? Looking for some action? Need some company? Got any money?
Money? No, I don't have any money.
Doing this, she went back to the strip where her body parts used to roam, and she went to work. Now, Zorro, bemoaning the loss of his bitches, is complaining about this in a bar, and all of a sudden Elizabeth comes into the same bar, and he hears her saying things that his women used to say, and so he's kind of watching her like, wait a minute. Things happen in there, and Elizabeth ends up being killed. So Jeffrey finds Elizabeth in the bar where she is once again dead and brings her back home to his lab with Zorro following behind. He brings her back again, and now the second time that he's brought her back, she suddenly remembers who she is.
You're not a hooker, Elizabeth. You're not. You're not.
Of course I'm not. Why in the world would you ever say anything like that, Jeffrey?
And discovers what he has done to bring her back and is very unhappy that, yeah, she's alive, but she's not who she was. Now, I don't want to ruin the end of the movie because they found a really fun way of ending it. So I'm going to leave it here, and you really should watch this movie, if anything, just for the ending. Part of Jeffrey is played by an actor by the name of James Loren. He's known for movies such as Street Trash and The Overnight. Kind of the same feel as this movie, a little goofy, campy, that kind of thing, and he does an amazing job. And James, he actually worked as an usher in a movie theater before he got the lead role in Frankenhooker. The part of Elizabeth Shelley is played by an actress named Patty Mullen. This was actually her last movie, which was only her third up until this last year. Now she's going to be in a movie called Strange Toys. It hasn't come out yet, and I don't see a release date, but it should be coming out shortly. Before she started acting, Patty was the Pet of the Year for Penthouse in 1986. The director of this film is Frank Henenlotter. He's known for other films such as Basket Case 1 and 2 and Brain Damage. His movies seem to have an enjoyable slapstick humor to them, which I do enjoy in a horror movie. Now for some fun facts about this movie. The character Elizabeth Shelley was actually given the last name of Shelley in homage to Mary Shelley, which was the original author of Frankenstein. Henenlotter reached out to the Actors Guild to get the actresses to play the prostitutes in the party scene. Now, these actresses were not willing to do any kind of nudity, and for this scene, there really needed to be some nudity. So he actually went to Billy's Bar right there in New York, and he hired actual strippers to do this scene because they were willing to do nudity. Now, after this movie, a lot of the actresses that were strippers were hired into the Actors Guild. When Jeffrey is driving down the street, originally looking for prostitutes that he could harvest for their body, you can see a bunch of people on the side of the road, in the street, whatever. Those are real prostitutes that he's driving by while making this movie. When the filming for this movie was completed, Henenlotter handed out fake breasts to the cast and those alike, kind of as a parting gift for being in this movie. And another really fun fact that I thought was just awesome is that being a huge fan of this movie, Bill Murray endorsed it during the time of its release. The kills are over the top. Body parts are flying all over the place. They use real cheesy humor, which I love in a lot of horror movies. They took an original story, turned it into their own. They've done so many great things with this movie. I greatly enjoy watching it every time I've seen it. This was not my first time watching this movie. It will not be my last time watching this movie. So due to the overall enjoyment that this movie brings me every time I watch it, I'm going to give it 5 coffins. Do yourself a favor, watch this movie. If you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for Bill Murray. That man has given us so much. Let's give a little bit back. Just to change things up a little bit, I'm going to have my husband choose the next movie I'm going to do next week from the curtain. If anybody sees one back here that you want me to do a review on, go ahead and leave it in the comments and I will happily do it. I think that would be kind of a fun way to do things. So thank you all again who have watched this video and continue to support me and my channel. We will see you next week.